What's up everyone, my name is Justin Odisho, and in this video I'm going to try to have a discussion and break down how this Atlanta Season 2 trailer was shot. Got Donald Glover here. I was probably asked about this video over a dozen times when it first dropped. So today I was checking my Twitter, which if you guys are not following me on there, definitely recommend you all follow me on there. Great place to reach out. And I got a tweet from user DJG2UK tagging me in this post from Complex saying, it was the trailer that you just saw there, saying, show us how to do this edit player. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to take a stab at it today in a live stream format. It's probably like the 20th time, and I think that a lot of you guys might enjoy to hear about it. The reason I haven't made a video about it yet is because I don't have a good answer on how they did it, and I didn't want to make a video if I didn't really have the answer. So I'm doing this live stream instead. It's a little bit more raw. It's a little bit more of a discussion style. I'll present to you some theories and some different things to keep in mind, which I do know, but I don't have the complete package. Maybe I can get your feedback, and we can just kind of analyze it together, and then I'll upload the whole thing to the channel for those of you who may be watching afterwards. So let's watch the trailer first of all, like Zebiso says in the chat. So you guys, if you are not familiar with it, you can see what it is. Okay, so it's for his show Atlanta. Super cool stuff, you know. So that is one of the trailers for this show. It's a show by Donald Glover, which is this guy you see right here. Also, you may know him as rapper Childish Gambino or comedian Donald Glover. He wears many hats. But yeah, you guys sent this to me a lot, and so I have thought about it a lot, but I just never made a video because I don't know who shot it or how exactly it was shot, or can't really find any behind the scenes of it online. But I do have some things that I can point out, and I think this will be a great discussion to have because so many times I get DMs on Instagram or Twitter saying how or what effect is this, and I think this is a great learning point or discussion to have, talking about practical effects versus just like drag and drop effects. A lot of people, if you're newer, this will be a good chance to learn how to visually look at something and try to analyze it and dissect it. So a lot of people who are newer, that you might think that like things are you might see the image in a much more flat way and think that things are drag and drop when it comes to editing. But there's something called practical effects, and these are things that have to do with the angle of the camera or the actual action in real life, or just different things about the composition that aren't necessarily done in editing. They're just clever tricks and cuts and physical makeup, whatever you might want to think of. So let's get into some theories. I have a few tabs open. Let's watch this. Watch a little bit of this. So here was my first couple theories once people start. And by the way, if you scroll down in the comments, you can see everyone asking, how was this done? Or some people have theories. Nobody seems to have the exact right answer, but let's try to see if we can come up with that answer by the end of the stream. So the first thing that we need to distinguish is, okay, the first thing that's actually really, really useful is if you're on YouTube and you use the arrow keys. It might be different on I'm on Mac, so for me it's the comma period keys. For you, perhaps it's something else, but whenever you're watching a YouTube video, or whether you're in After Effects or Premiere Pro and you want to know how something was done, the first suggestion I have for you is always to go step by step. Okay, so step by step we can analyze frame by frame. And the first thing to keep in mind is that firstly, that transition is just a cut. Okay, it's a clever cut in between motions. Okay, so that's thing number one. We're just using a cut. We're not using any fancy motion or whatever. It just happens to blend nicely. All the angles blend nicely when we're watching it. But you can see it's just a cut. It's just a nicely placed cut. So that's number one. It's a well-timed cut. But the thing that's perplexing is, how is he, first of all, being shot perpendicular with, I don't know if perpendicular is the right word, but like with the camera. So for that, I think most people can agree that there's some sort of rig that's maybe attached to his waist, something like these that you see here on Google Images, something like this man has here, but maybe a little bit more discreet so that you can't see it on his upper half. Maybe it's more tied to his lower half. That way, if he is attached to the rig and he leans, the background moves, but he doesn't move. And this is assuming that it's not a green screen behind him. But this is one thing to keep in mind, that there's definitely some sort of rig going on here in action, in my opinion. I think there's some sort of rig. Another suggestion, like let's say if you wanted to recreate something like this at home, I could see how if you got crafty with it, you and your buddy just used a well-timed monopod shot where your buddy was holding it. Like imagine if you're stepping on a broomstick and your buddy had the camera and you dropped it left or right. That's one suggestion I have. Maybe if you want to recreate something similar at home, if you and your buddies want to fall down on your shoulders and one of them just times it well, if you can't afford an expensive rig. But basically that's something to keep in mind, is the alignment of motion. Now, one thing that's hard to explain is, okay, one thing that's physically impossible, if starting at the second clip, right? So it's physically impossible for anyone to get up like that, right? To get up from their side on a fallen down position, to get up. Like you have to have superhuman strength. You can't like, trust me, if you get down on the floor right now and try that, you will not be able to get up. So I've been looking at this. My first initial theory on how I explained that in my head as an editor was, oh, it's pretty clear, right? They started the shot in the middle, okay? They made him fall. So yes, you can fall on your shoulder, right? Gravity helps us there. So this could have been shot naturally, right? He falls on his shoulder, breaks his fall a little bit, and it cuts before he like really falls. And then what I thought was that they just recorded a fall. They made him fall left and they made him fall right. And then what they would do, so like they made him fall to the left, right, which they played in normal speed. And then they made him fall to the right, which is what you see here if we play it backwards. And they cut that half and played it in reverse speed, right? That was one theory that I had, but I don't think that's what they did, right? Because there's a few things, if we look, it's pretty clear that, or one thing actually, I mean, they may have done that for certain shots. So for example, it's pretty clear, like just the way gravity is moving. Like if you look at his face, it's just moving in weird ways. But this shot right here with the train kind of cancels out that theory, right? Because if they had shot half of it in reverse and reversed it, I saw some people had these theories in the chat that they cut it and reversed it. Like this guy here in the comments had that theory as well. In my opinion, that theory is canceled out, at least in this shot, because the train does not get reversed motion, right? So that brings up another thing to keep in mind then. Okay, so perhaps he still did do that, but then that means that him and the background were shot separately, maybe using a green screen for him and then compositing the background. Like so maybe they shot the location with some sort of monopod type of rig from left to right. That way you get the natural motion blur and everything. and then maybe they lit him in a green screen backdrop like you see here, and then or vice versa, like Ambarash in the chat says, and then combine the two in a program like After Effects. And obviously there's a little bit of speed ramping, like just there's color grading and speed ramping and all those finishing details, but I'm not really gonna get into those details. But the idea that it's all shots together gets really hard to justify on this clip here because of that train, right? The train is moving. Now, one thing that I thought of as well is this train supposed to be going this way, left to right, or right to left? Because the lettering on the train, now I feel like Bill Nye, the science guy over here, but the lettering on the train, I don't know, is someone a train expert in the chat? Do trains go left to right or right to left? I felt like that could be a clue, but as to if the clip was reversed or not, what the natural motion of the train should have been, but that's really hard to tell. A bit ambiguous of a question. And then another thing that some people were saying is that if you look at his hoodie strings, right, you can kind of tell what's really happening if you look at the gravity on his hoodie strings. So in two of these clips, he's wearing a hoodie, and you notice that the hoodie strings remain pretty straight, you know? So now so he's definitely doing some sort of motion because the hoodie strings do move, but on the ascent upwards. And another thing to keep in mind is the lighting. For, like, in my opinion, it would be really hard to fake how consistent the lighting on his cheek is and these people in the background. So maybe they were all green screen and the background was not. He does kind of look like he stands out from like the building, but one thing that I had in mind, because it is absolutely impossible to, like, just using pure strength, lay down on your side and get up like a shoulder raise, is that he's not actually falling over, but he's kind of just like leaning on a wall and then leaning on another wall and rotating, and they're just playing with the angle. Another really far-fetched theory that I have, that maybe they built some sort of thing for his feet to go in. The first thing I thought of to demonstrate this is, Michael Jackson, when Michael Jackson used to perform, he had those shoes with the nail in the ground, and they would allow him to lean like very far forward when he was in the shoes because they had a nail in the ground. I'm not saying that Donald Glover is using Michael Jackson shoes to do the leaning, but maybe they did do something where he's standing up and then, like, his feet are like in something that helps him move in an unnatural way. Another thing is, like, he might be being pushed and pulled by keyed out strings or like weight manipulation pulleys, etc., whatever. But there's just something in this scene where it seems like they may have shot the background and the foreground separately. And actually, I'll show you guys the real scene where that matches up. So here's another one. Keep in mind that you're getting like some cool speed ramping before the cut. That's what makes that kind of happen. But here's another one with the hoodie strings where they don't really do much motion on the way up. Definitely, like, hoodie strings would not, you can kind of tell in this frame, This frame gives it away that he's not laying on the ground, like at the angle of the camera, which in my opinion means he's leaning on a wall somehow, and he's like pushing himself off the wall a little bit. And also you can see that his hoodie strings are like, I don't know. This is why I didn't make a video on this, because I just get so confused the more and more I do it. But to me, the angles in this shot look funny, right? One last thing that I wanted to point out is to go along with the morph kit, the morph cut theory, is if you do actually look at, like, if you look at his face and his neck movement, he might actually be hanging upside down. Okay, that's a crazy theory. I just came up with that right now. But if you look at if you look at the shadows in his face, it does look like at certain points in the clips that they cut the clip and morph them. I'll show you. Like, you almost feel like, hold on, that's not even the best one. This one here, right? Like, if you look at the way his neck is moving, it's really unnatural. I'm pointing like you guys can see. But if you look at the way his neck is moving there, especially right here, it's kind of unnatural in my opinion. And there's a frame where, right here, so you see between this frame and this frame, there's like a shift in quality. Maybe it's just the YouTube upload, but there's a shift in quality that almost makes you feel like it was quickly morph cut. I'm not sure. To me, the lighting on his shirts looks natural in the outside scenes and everything like that. These are all the different clues that I've looked at, and I've never made a video about this, although I've been getting requested it since January, since it came out, because I didn't have like a really good conclusive answer. But I think that these different elements put together and these fun little like fan theories, although we may be on the right track for some things, we may be wrong for other things, it's a really good example and lesson in sometimes you can't just say what effect is that, like it's a drag and drop effect from After Effects. Sometimes there literally could be so much work that goes into it, from green screens to rotoscoping to tracking to cutting a clip and reversing it to like rigs and different things that in the final clip look all like it looks like nothing when you're watching it, but it's very cleverly designed. And these things, you must take these things into account when you're trying to break a video down, and hopefully that also gives you guys like some insight into how I would go about analyzing all of these little small details. And if anything else, you learned how to do frame by frame analysis. But since I am going to be uploading this to the channel as a YouTube video, I'm going to try to keep it under a half an hour. But I'm going to go in the chat right now, see if we can get any interesting theories from you guys or any clever things to finish it up. Thank you to DJ G2 UK for tweeting this at me today, and basically everyone else that's messaged me this over the past couple months. So follow me on Twitter for sure, and Instagram if you guys want to be reaching out to me. I might do more stuff like this where I make some sort of content out of those Q&As. But let me see what you guys were saying in the chat real quick. We'll wind down the end here. Oh, by the way, at least this last little part here, I can explain how they did this text. Basically, watch my video about track matte keys in Premiere or After Effects, and they basically just filled the text layer with a bit of a scaled up shot of the city lights and set the blending mode to, it looks like screen. So at least you guys can figure out this little fun fill text with video effect and just set the blending mode to something like screen, play around with the blending and the color tints and all that. But let's see what you guys are saying and see if you have the key to crack this case. And if anyone even after the stream figures it out, message me on social media and we can update it on Twitter. So let's see what you guys are saying. Super Cav, check your Instagram. I sent you a clip that I think answers how they did this shot. Okay, let's see if I can quickly do that, Kev. Cinematographer. It looks like he sent me something on Instagram here. Let's see if I can load it real quick, but I'll keep reading the chat. Have you seen something like this before? Yes, I've seen this before. Oh, that's so cool. This is getting more and more to I have no idea. Yes, Keenan, that's why I've never made a video about it till now, but I think doing it in this live stream raw format and just leaving it up for discussion, at least we can bring it up on the channel, because I imagine people are still going to ask, and at least give you guys the scraps of what I do think. Let me know what you guys think. Did you do you think I just shouldn't have done this, or did you enjoy that at least a little bit? Gave you something to watch, or gave you some interesting amount? Caviar. Okay, I see. So Cav sent me a really interesting message on Instagram that is a good example of something that similar that might have been done. Maybe there's a special name for this machine. But yeah, you can see how crazy this might get. I think you might be really onto it. That might actually be the machine. That looks like a different shoot though. But thanks for sending that message, Cav. Illuminati. I enjoyed it. I loved it. Please do more. All right, so Mango, they might have shot the foreground first, then get some clips, then the background. Yeah, I think they might have done that. I think that is a pretty good answer. I don't know if that's how they did it, but this rig here, I'll say, is probably something very similar to what they used. So shout out to you, Cav. I think we've at least thought about this case. Maybe they didn't use Michael Jackson shoes, but wrapping it up here, if you guys wanted to recreate something like this at home and you didn't want to get all crazy with PVC pipes or whatever, you and your friend could maybe just grab turn your tripod into a monopod and just like have your friend go with you. I don't know. Get creative. These are different things to think about and experiment with. That's Atlanta. I haven't seen the show, but apparently it's about an up-and-coming artist from Atlanta. And listen to Childish Gambino's music. Anyways, I think I'm going to stop the stream now so it turns into a nice 23-minute video for the viewers to watch afterwards if they weren't in the live stream, and then maybe I'll post a video tomorrow and then live stream on the weekend again. So thank you guys so much for watching this. Hopefully it was an interesting discussion. I know this was really short, but I want to keep it concise because it's going to get posted on the channel. Mitchell, the hoodie strings. The hoodie strings are a mystery. That's why I think he's not really falling to the ground. He might be leaning left and right, maybe on like a 45-degree angle. Again, I don't know. This has been the mystery of Donald Glover and the heavy rotation trailer. Thank you guys so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel if you're not yet, and I'll catch you in a future live stream.